So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the last part of the session, and my dear colleague, friend Esko Kilpi, who has been a management advisor and also thinker of new work. So what happens in these times that the way how companies do things and the way how employees work in those organizations, the work is transforming, and what kind of opportunities Quantified Self might provide on that side. And he is probably going to put that much better in words than I am. So please welcome Esko. Esko is going to talk for 15 minutes, and then Martin and Braber will take the stage, initiate some of his thoughts, and then we have an open conversation for some time, and then it's time to wrap up. So thank you, Esko.
Thank you, Teemu. And also, if you wish to ask any questions or comment during my presentations, please feel free. So thank you once more. I was asked to open up perhaps some of the trend-like issues going on within and inside corporations today. And the question was whether there is something happening outside the Quantified Self movement that might link and also kind of strengthen the importance of the issues that have been discussed here today. And I would like to very briefly try to ask the question, then what is going on within corporations, and even more so, what might be the implications for us. And as a kind of a small list, I gathered some of the basic trend-like changes. First and foremost, I would like to say that it seems that the logic of value creation is changing within corporations. So what we used to do was create value for our customers. Now, what many both researchers and organizations have found out that although they have the same product, the value experience is different from one customer context to another customer context. And what it basically means is that organizations per se don't create value for the customers, but the way customers utilize our products and services and the way they interact with us creates value. And that transforms very profoundly the basic relationship between a corporation and its customers. It's not transactional in the sense that here is the product and you give me the money, but it is interactional in the sense that I need to understand the value criteria that you have that might be somewhat the same and somewhat different from another customer situation. And the idea that the relationship changes towards more interaction actually brings with it a tremendously important change that I described through saying that work is not repetitive. Now, the interaction situations are creative in the sense that we always create more or less the solutions. They are somewhat the same, somewhat different from one customer context to the other. But the situations are creative and we learn. Now, what that means is that the whole logic of corporations, and I like to underline the importance of what I'm saying, is kind of changing from the goals in the far future to understanding what is really taking place in those value creation contexts and situations. So the emphasis has been that each and every one of us has a set of goals that creates a scorecard, and our focus in a way has been in the future and how we try to meet the goals that either we have set for ourselves or somebody else has set for us. But now, luckily, it's more important to be very aware of what is actually going. So instead of focusing on goals, you focus on what is truly happening in your daily situations. Now, the second big change from the change in the logic of value creation is the change or the changing way we think about what strategy is all about and what strategizing is all about. Now, in the past, and this is of course very known to all of us in this room, is the idea that strategy is choices we make regarding what we do and basically what we don't do. So strategy has been kind of opting out from some opportunities and deciding and investing in other opportunities. But as the startup scene has kind of taught us, the idea of pivoting, the idea of changing course, the idea of creating new opportunities is by far the only way you can survive in rapidly changing environments. And that means that many corporations think very, very differently regarding what strategy is all about. So you don't, in a way, you don't want to reduce opportunities. You want to be more aware of what those opportunities might be, and you want to create more opportunities. And the more opportunities we have, the more opportunities we try out, the better we are in what I call here sensing and responding. So here the idea is actually quite interesting, because the way we understand what is happening around us is very much based on not what we see, but what we can do. And our competencies kind of create the lenses through which we see those opportunities and value the opportunities, either seeing that they are something for us or not. I've been part of some academic research lately where these researchers have tried to find some new approaches to understand what really happened with Nokia. And as you know, if you think about a very wide kind of competence chart, in order to be successful in mobile technologies, you need to be good at 3 areas. You need to be good at the hardware stack. You need to be good at the radio stack, which means the signal processing side, and you need to be good at the application stack. And the thing is that regarding opportunities, Nokia was by far perhaps the leader in the world on the hardware stack and the radio stack, but there are very few skilled people on the application stack, which meant that as you don't have the skills, you don't see what is going on. And this in a way means that the better we are in sensing and responding, better we are in understanding what we can see and what we don't see regarding the opportunities, the better we are in the future strategy work we do. So what does this then mean for us in this room, and how we might say that work is changing? And I'd like to suggest a few pointers for future discussion and some kind of basic principles that I think that are of value in the context of quantified self. One of the things that I took up recently was the idea that we are coming away from the focus of goals in the future to understanding what's really taking place today. Also in the old days, what you needed to do was to report to somebody else on what you are doing and how you are relating to your scorecards. But this seems to be very much a thing of the past. We are truly changing from reporting to somebody else to being much, much better at reflection. You have to be very, very good to, again, understand what is going on in your present day-to-day work life. And this seems to be the new competence. And again, I'm underlining this because there's normally in everyday corporate life, there is no room for this. There is our process charts don't have an area called time for reflection. Now we know that agile methods do contain these ideas in retrospectives and so forth, but in general corporate life, this is a fairly new thing, which is quite amazing, really. Now also, if you think about personal development, every one of you have read the books that come up with the right way to live and the 3 steps that you desperately need to make in order to achieve the one goal of good life. The mass society was really about generic models, which in a way meant that we have a good thing that is good for everybody. This is the whole way we school people, we educate people. This is the whole way we think that life is all about. What is good for you is also good for me. And of course, that is total nonsense. And also, a thing relating to the idea of the importance of quantified self is really the thing that it is absolutely imperative to understand how sensitive the idea of contextuality is, and how the slightest difference between 2 moments in time, 2 corporations or 2 people change the whole picture. So as also the sensing and responding is a thing of today, is also context sensitivity. What that then means is that the whole point in personal development is my unique situation. It is a totally different approach from the idea that you have the goal, you have understanding of where you are, and then the thing you do is trying to close the gap. So, if I may, if you see books or ideas where you are supposed to close gaps, leave immediately. What is also coming up with most of people studying change today is that most change is very slow. What that then means is that change for the better or change for the worse really takes a lot of time. And what that also means is that the future in a way is inbuilt in what I do here and now today. So there's a future inbuilt in my daily actions. Now, normally I don't know it. And what this then means is that there's a new skill in each and every organization, and there's a new skill for each and every one of us, and that's pattern recognition. What are the slow, trend-like things that are inbuilt in our daily procedures, in our daily habits? Do they create a better life from my point of view for me, or the opposite? Also, this means that learning is not learning from outside. So it is not a thing where you need to go someplace and somebody tells you what to do. But it's really about how you learn from the people around you, how you learn from what is going on in life, and specifically how you interpret what is going on. And what then this means is that your ability for interpretation, your ability to be better at interpretation, is one of the key skills of knowledge work. I have a problem with the quantified self movement, and I'd like to kind of reflect on this problem of mine. And also I'm going to end my presentation with some thoughts on this. But the problem I have is that we are always, if we are learning in interaction. So we never learn alone. There's always interaction. Our life is communication. And to me, one of the basic things in quantified self is to understand how you do things and how that might be different from the way I do things. And I'm not saying that the other way or the other person's way of doing things is better, but different. And learning, in the sense, is always finding out differences between doing things. Again, I repeat, I'm not saying that you try to find a better way or trying to understand what is a worse way, but a different way. And here, of course, the idea is that the more we use quantified self approaches, the more we should do that in interaction. I suggested that I have a problem with the quantified self movement, and that is precisely because we are deeply social. And no one of us can do any true changes without those changes being present in our social environments. So it is the world changing and you changing always at the same time. Of course, what it helps is to have a movement, have a lot of people around us who share our ideals, who share our way of doing things, who share the opportunity of learning. But what I'm really asking myself, and I don't have an answer for this, is whether it is about quantified self or whether it is quantified. And here you can continue what it might be. But I think the real power is to be social and finding the new social practices where the quantified self approaches are present. So thank you so much for allowing me to share these thoughts with you. I'm also very willing to take some questions if you wish.
One question. Can you elaborate a little bit on the fact that organizations have been looking into gathering information on the activities of their employees in order to improve whatever is related to the division of labor or the division of the different activities that the company is doing? So sort of like thinking that if you reduce the system, you remove everything unnecessary, inefficient, you sort of make it more efficient, you somehow find something. So companies have been looking at this from the top down. And now quantified self, if you give these tools to the people in those organizations so that they can track their own activities to figure out certain things about their own working patterns that no one from the outside can observe. In a way, someone can look at the data but doesn't see the same thing as if I'm looking at my sleep data. It doesn't necessarily, I can see certainly, oh, that's the moment when I was out with my friends and I had this feeling, and it doesn't show up on the data. So, but it means for me much more than for someone third party observing. So instead of using these tools to track, employees in a more sophisticated way, like Walmart actually put people, with these bracelets so that they know when they're in the toilet and when they're actually working, to something where you're not as a manager really gathering that data, but you keep the data out there so that the individuals can use it for whatever they want. So what does that enable organizations do that is different from what was done before, and what's the opportunity there?
Well, the first part in trying to answer this question is that data without interpretation is just trash. And the ability to interpret data requires understanding of the context. And that to me entails that we have to be self-referential. So we have to be the references. If somebody else looks at my data without understanding the context, it doesn't help me. And this is precisely the wrong thing in the way we do things in corporations, is that somebody else tries to look at what I do without understanding of the context, because we believe still that the models are generic, so time and place does not matter, but it does. I've been recently studying corporations that are very scorecard based, and they are all in deep shit, because they are based on the wrong assumption of how things are done. And also, in a way, feedback from my data that I get back in our yearly development discussion with my boss does not help me at all. So the sense and respond world takes the context very seriously, but also takes a very rapid learning loop as the basic way of doing things. So I need to be able to interpret my data every day. And this is the thing I need to do.
At the city of Vantaa, they did this just simple heart sort of, let's call it some kind of health test, and for thousands of employees. And what they figured out was that, well, they had this program for, if you wanted to sign up for that, there was this full program and all that, but there was only a measurement in the beginning and in the end, and some people only took the measurement. And even those people who just took the measurements, actually, in the end of the program, they could show that they just projected that they have now increased the the lifespan of their employees for 10 years by just taking this one parameter. So the individuals who just took the simple reality check somehow then figured out that they should do something. And what is interesting in this kind of case is that everyone was into it. Even if some people were not part of the official program, what to me it entails is that the social aspect of yours. So everyone is looking at data, not necessarily sharing the results, but they are all in it together, and sort of that creates new practices, new context for improving the way how you do the work, and maybe it reduces the stress and so on. So I think essentially you said that quantified self is not necessarily social, but sort of protecting to that direction. But actually it is, and even if you don't share the data, it can be social. That's one take.
But what I'm very much kind of saying here is that the quantified self movement has to be social. The value is in it being social. And it is a kind of an ongoing conversation, as the data points cannot be points once a year or once a month. They have to be like a video. It has to be more data points that are shared, that are discussed. And my worry in a way is that the discussion is not there. So we make wrong interpretations. That's the thing we have. We have a lot of data, but we interpret very, very badly. And that also, to me, is one of the basic things that we need to discuss, how to be better in not only reflecting, but talking about it.